The wait is finally over for Cicone's most anticipated book of the year, Leadership That Lasts, passing on 10 solid principles to ensure an enduring legacy. Powerful, effective, impactful, dynamic, phenomenal, transforming, life-changing. Available now in Amazon. Order yours today.
Hey, it is an unstoppable day. Welcome to another episode of Talking Small Business with Terrence, and I'm your host, Terrence, the Unstoppable Coach Leffridge, your accountability coach with Unstoppable Coaching Services. Talking Small Business with Terrence is a platform where we help businesses just like yours move from being stuck into being unstoppable by talking to other small business owners to share their tools, tips, and strategies to help you move to the next level of your greatness. And today we have a special episode of Talking Small Business, and we're actually simulcasting with my other show, The Unstoppable Story Show, because that's just how phenomenal this show is going to be today. We are welcoming back someone that I call a member of the family, not just a guest anymore. I met this brother over 6 years ago. Wow, how time flies. He is, let me give you the most important things first. He's a family man. He is someone who cares, and he uses his ability to care in every aspect of what he does, whether he is working with men's groups in his family or whether he's helping you get a closer ideal of yourself. He actually introduces you to yourself with his business, Cicone Prince Coaching. And now he's another author. He is on his 5th book, and his book that he is talking about today is none other than the book called Leadership That Lasts. Leadership That Lasts. And we are going to talk more about this book today. It's the Unstoppable Author Showcase, y'all, on Talking Small Business with Terrence Leffridge with our special guest, Mr. Cicone Prince. How are you, Cicone?
I'm doing fine, and you?
Man, I am doing unstoppable. You know what the tagline says. Thank you so much for blessing us again with your presence here on Talking Small Business with Terrence. And it's a very special day for you because you have birthed another baby in the Cicone Prince legacy. The book called Leadership That Lasts. But before we jump into that, for those who don't know you, and that's probably maybe 1 or 2 people in this whole world of 8 billion people, why don't you let them know a little bit about who you are and what you do?
My name is Cicone Prince. I'm a speaker, an author, and a coach. And my company is CiconePrince.com. And our slogan is, we make motivation personal by introducing you to yourself. And that's really helping you to understand who you are and what you bring to the table. Because one of the things that I definitely believe is needed is more personal development, because no matter where you go, you're there. And if you never develop as a person, you wind up kind of staying in the same spot, in the same place. And one thing that's constant is change. So we have to change with the times. We have to evolve. In fact, we have to become a better version of ourselves. You don't necessarily have to be somebody else, but just be better than you were yesterday. And so that's what we focus on, is helping you to truly understand who you are and what you bring to the table. As Terrence mentioned, I am a 5-time author. In fact, my first book that went to print was Are You Climbing the Wrong Mountain? I turned that into an annual summit. But then in 2019, at the end of 2019, I wanted to revamp that. I actually went through a rebranding process. And now, instead of Are You Climbing the Wrong Mountain, it's now Next Level Leadership Summit. When now somebody would say, well, how can you draw a line between personal development and leadership development? Well, leadership development is the child of personal development. And what I mean is this: leadership or personal development is leading yourself. It's learning how to lead you, be a better you. But the next logical step after personal development is leadership development. So you lead others. But what I found is that there are a lot of people that are trying to lead others and they haven't learned how to lead themselves. And so to me, those two go hand in hand, personal development and leadership development. And so with that being said, we started a next level leadership summit, which still talks about the amount of personal responsibility that leaders have in the development of their employees or their team or whoever they're leading. And so we've actually made it our point to, really keep both of them, because I do believe there's a balance, because there's no way you can have leadership development and you've not developed as a person. And then once you develop as a person, the next thing you need to do is help somebody else. So that's what those two go hand in hand. We also have an online magazine as well as a podcast, which recently got picked up by iHeartRadio. And we're really super excited about that. So those are just a couple of things we have going. And I want to thank you, Terrence, for allowing me to be on your show. This is an incredible opportunity.
Well, I want to thank you so much for sharing all that information. You have done phenomenal things in your time being out there on the scene, helping introducing people to themselves. Let's talk a little bit about that slogan, because that's really how it started, as in your coaching and your leadership practice. So why was it so important for you to introduce people to themselves?
Well, it's important to me because I truly believe that most people don't really know who they are. And what I mean by that is this: you ask somebody if they know who they are, they're like, yeah, of course I do. I've been with me all my life. But have you really taken the time to evaluate yourself and see what makes you do what you do? Some people say, well, that's just where I am. My question is why? It's not what you do, but why. And my journey started when I was in college. And I found myself in a relationship that went sour. And I started just kind of questioning myself. I said, why is it, Cicone, that in 80% of the relationships that you've been involved in, it was the woman that ended the relationship? I said, what is it about you that makes you just hold on for dear life? It just stays in that. What is it about you? And so I started a process of self-discovery. Now, it took the end of that relationship to do that. But in fact, what I encourage people to do is don't wait until, in fact, the tire blows for you to figure out that there was a leak in it.
Yeah.
Keep it in the air and find out where the hole is and plug it, or else it's really going to blow. And then you're going to have to change the tire altogether. And the unfortunate thing is, in fact, there might be an accident involved in that process. So even in our own lives, instead of us just waiting until something traumatic happens or something, unforeseen happens, why not take the time to get to know ourselves, to ask ourselves the hard questions? We are willing to question everybody else, but do we ask ourselves the right questions? Because I tell people all the time, in order to get the right answers, you have to ask the right questions. We'll question everybody else, but rarely do we question ourselves about who we are and what we have going on.
And that as we segue into talking about the book, that is one of those key things that any leader does. The leader questions themselves. They want to make sure that their motives align with their assignment. Leaders are assigned a certain thing to do, whether it's to lead one person or whether it's to lead a nation or whether it's to lead a world. And I remember George Fraser saying one time that before you can become a leader of many, you have to be the leader of one. And being that leader of one you have to go about the process of understanding yourself. You have to be able to lead yourself before you can put out leadership that's going to last upon generation upon generation upon generation. So Let's talk about that title, because that title is phenomenal, Cicone. Leadership that lasts. Tell us how that came into being.
Well, again, when you think about leadership, and when you think about the examples of leadership, in fact, that we have today, a lot of them you wouldn't want to emulate. you wouldn't want to duplicate. You wouldn't want to replicate because they are not servant leaders. They are not leaders that are effective leaders. They actually make leadership and they give it a bad name. Well, leadership that lasts, it really allows you to model leadership to the point to where someone else wants to do what you do. Someone else wants to step up and step into that role because of how effective you've led, how you've been fair and honest, how you've been open about what's going on, how you've put the needs of the many to outweigh the needs of the few. They want to make sure that they are presenting a style of leadership that is easily duplicatable. Someone can take and make their own, but one that has at its core the benefit of the majority, or in fact, the benefit of the group or the organization that you are a part of. And so leadership that lasts, it really is a forward-thinking approach to leadership because it's not just about leading today, but who am I setting up to lead tomorrow? It's about pouring into somebody and giving them an opportunity to actually step forward and say, yes, I want to lead because I saw you lead correctly.
So you've been working on this project for a while now, and it ties into your next level leadership summit, for which you did a phenomenal job just late last year, and I was glad to be a part of that process. So what do you want the reader to learn about in Leadership That Lasts?
Well, I want them to learn that it's needed and it's necessary. Leadership is needed and necessary, and good leadership, effective leadership. They need to understand that they're not going to be here forever and that they need to set up somebody else to take their place. I think of Lee Iacocca, which I talk about in the book, and how him bringing Chrysler back from the brink. But his leadership style was kind of coined as the genius and 1,000 monkeys. Okay? Because anytime they had an issue, they would go to Lee. They would go to Lee Iacocca. They would go to him and ask the question. Well, and he was able to give them all the information. But when he left the company, there was a vacuum. There was nobody that had been groomed to take his place. And when he left, the company went down. So they actually wound up calling him back. Now, my point is that you don't want that to be the case. You don't want there to be a huge vacuum when you lead. You, as an effective leader, if you want leadership that lasts, you have to prepare the next generation. You have to be able to look out among you and see if there's anybody that actually fits the bill of leadership. Anybody that's willing, anybody that has a desire to actually step up, anybody that has the temperament to be a leader. So you have to make sure that you factor in all of those factors because that's what's going to make an effective leader. Now, I will say this. We're not looking for a cookie cutter approach to leadership.
No.
But we are looking for a framework. Like these are some of the things leaders have. Now, you take it and make it your own. But having that framework in place allows them an opportunity to actually tweak areas that they may not be as strong in, that they may be kind of weak in. But if they know I need this in my framework, then they will at least know I need to work on this. I need to develop this skill. I need to be a better listener. I need to not jump to conclusions as quickly. I need to learn how to observe. I mean, there are a lot of things leaders need to do that are laid out in the book, and they really drive home the point of why it's needed. Because again, people need a pattern. If you look at any actor that's acting for or that's preparing for a role, they do a case study. If they're playing someone who's in a mental institution, they study people that are in mental institutions. If they're playing a fry cook, they study how to go in there and flip the food and make it scattered and smothered and put you. They study all of that because they want to get the role right. Well, when it comes to leadership, in order for you to be an effective leader, you have to have something that you're modeling your leadership behind. And so oftentimes people just look and they'll grab something from someone and something from someone else. And I mean, they may make it their own. But my thing is this: if you're an effective leader, instead of letting somebody figure it out, at least give them a blueprint. at least give them, like I said, a framework for them to know, okay, these are the things that leaders have to contend with. These are the things leaders have to do. And then allow them an opportunity to make it their own.
Absolutely. You guys, we are talking to Cicone Prince, CiconePrince.com. He's the author of the book, Leadership That Lasts. And you can see the book on the screen right now. We're going to tell you how you can get your copy of the book as we go through this author showcase. But we're just going to tease a little bit about the book. There's a couple of chapters that you want to just give them a little inkling about what they'll get into these chapters. So let's talk about one of the first chapters that you think is really relevant to them in your book, Leadership That Lasts.
Well, one of the chapters, it talks about a startling reality. And that chapter really points out the fact that our dreams don't have an expiration date, but we do. I'm going to say that again for those that are taking notes. Our dream don't have an expiration date, but we do, which means that we are not going to live forever. And as sooner that becomes a reality, the sooner that sets in, then we'll realize I need to prepare the next generation. I need to be pouring into somebody. Unless I just expect the company to fail, the organization to fail, my family to fail, I need to be pouring into someone else. I need to be preparing them to operate when I'm not here. One of the greatest quotes that I really liked from the Black Panther was, "A father has failed if he hasn't prepared his children for his death," meaning that he hadn't prepared them to live without him.
Yes.
And I think most leaders, most effective leaders, know that in order for the organization to continue, in order for the business to continue, in order for the family to continue, you have to prepare the next generation. You can't just allow them to not have the skills that they need. When you see things that are not right, you address them, but you also are modeling stuff as well. This is what a leader does. Not just do what I do as I say, but this is what I do. You know, I tell the story all the time about my youngest son and our actual conference back in 2017. And I was running around doing so many things and I forgot something. And thankfully, the conference was less than a mile from my house. That was a blessing and a curse because, again, I forgot something.
Yeah.
So what I had to wind up doing was I had to run home and get it. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, like I only have one chance to go home. One time to go home and get this. So I need to make sure whatever I need, I get while I'm there. And so I was getting ready to leave. And my youngest son, he said, "Dad, can I ride with you?" I'm like, "Sure, son, come on." At the time, he was 10 years old. And in this short drive to my house, you know, without being prompted, you know, without having a conversation, my son looked at me and he said, "Dad, I'm proud of you." And in that moment, I stopped. I was like, whoa. Because I realized he was watching. I realized that he was looking. I realized that he saw me going after my goals and my dreams. Now, I could tell him all day, "Hey, son, you know, you can do anything that you want to do." But I can tell him that, but I can also show him. Because, see, I believe that our children's heroes shouldn't be just on the television screen or on the movie screen or you know, on Instagram or in the newspaper. Our children's heroes should sit across the table from them. They should have breakfast. They should have dinner and lunch with their heroes. We should be their heroes. And so when you understand that somebody is watching you and that you can actually demonstrate what leadership is, that makes you stand a little taller. It makes you go through a little more because you realize you are setting a precedence for somebody else. And so that's what, when I talk about a stark reality, I want my children to know, yes, you can go after your goals and your dreams. And here's how you do it. Even when things get hard, even when things don't go right, even when the money's not there, even when you don't have the support that you think you should have from the people that you believe, you keep going after your goals and your dreams. And that's what leadership, it is done in such a way to where people can they can get excited about it. And again, they want to duplicate it. They want to step into that role. If it's done right. Now, if it's done wrong, well,
Yeah.
now you have another problem.
Right. And I want to take the flip side of this and relate it back to business owners, because many business owners, when they open their business, they have this dream that it's going to be something that they can pass on to their children. I think in my own life, I've had a plumber that has worked with me for decades, and he trained his son on how to do everything that he does. His son would go with him on all his calls. He would tell him how to do this, how to strip a pipe, how to unclog a sink, how to do this, and this, all helping his son, preparing his son for a day when the father could take and sit back and retire, thinking that the business would carry on because he's invested all these skills into his son. And I think most businesses, whether it's a family business or a small business or a large corporation, the leader of that business at some point wants to retire. I'm not going to say expire as in die, but yeah, that's part of it. But even before they expire, they probably want to retire, and they want the business to be able to carry on. I remember my pastor was a pastor at my church for over 30 years. Well, he set in motion his retirement plan 2 years before he retired, and they brought in another associate pastor to give that 2 years of transition. And I think that's what you're speaking to in leadership that lasts. You want to be that example of a leader, but you also want to be that example of a leader who passes down his leadership so that the legacy continues even after the leader is gone. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. And that is exactly it. But you have to lay your ego aside long enough to do that. And a
Yes.
lot of people have a hard time, if they haven't done the personal development side of it, if they if their identity is tied up in their leadership, then they wind up fighting tooth and nail for that position. I can't go nowhere. I have to be the person. And again, they are setting a precedence for somebody coming behind them to follow their example. Whereas if they realize, look, I'm not going to live forever, I'm not going to be here forever, and if I care enough about this organization and I want it to succeed, I need to prepare someone else. I need to have a contingency plan just in case something happens to us, that the organization, the company, the family can go on in our absence.
I love it. Love it. Talking with Cicone Prince here on Talking Small Business with Terrence. He is the author of the book Leadership That Lasts. You're going to get an opportunity to get your copy of this phenomenal book where he gives the 10 solid principles to ensure an enduring legacy. So definitely stick and stay till the end of this broadcast so that we can give you more information on how you can not only get this book, but how you can also get many of the other services that are provided at ciconeprince.com. Now, we talked about why it's needed, why the book is needed, because we're looking out for future generations. We also talked about the startling realities that, we all have an expiration date, but that doesn't mean that the business has to expire. But now you're also talking about where leadership starts. From the outside looking in, we see the people standing at the podium, or we see the people standing in the front of the audience, and we look at them as the leader from our outside eye. But you actually say that leadership starts on the inside, right?
Yes, leadership does start on the inside, but it doesn't stay there. I remember hearing Dr. Miles Monroe, and he said that leaders are angry. And I was like, wait, what do you mean leaders are angry? He said leaders see a situation and they're not happy with, they're not proud of, and they want to change it. And no one necessarily invites them to be a leadership or to be a leader. No one actually gives them permission. They see something that like they want to change and they start changing it. But that starts on the inside. that starts on the inside. So leadership starts on the inside, but it doesn't stay there. Again, going back to the personal development aspect of it, if you are not willing to accept anything for yourself, you're not willing to accept it for somebody else. If you're not willing to accept abuse, then you're not going to stand idly by while somebody else is abused. Oftentimes, in those situations where you see somebody who is complacent or who is compliant to somebody else being abused, they have low self-esteem like themselves. But if you have someone who spent the time valuing themselves and what they have to offer, when they see somebody else who they value, when they see them being devalued, they have a problem. They will not stand idly by. If you see somebody being bullied and you don't do anything about it, that says a lot about you. It says a lot about you because you are willing to stand by and watch somebody else be dehumanized. But if you think of yourself and if you know that you have value and you have worth, if you wouldn't put up with it, why would you stand idly by and allow somebody else to do the same? So leadership starts on the inside. That's why I say personal development is so important, because no matter where you go in the world, you're there. And if you never develop as a person, you take that same attitude, that same thought process everywhere you go. But when you develop as a person, when you understand your own value, you see the value of others. And you won't just allow them to go through life devaluing themselves. Again, you got to lead yourself first, but then you can lead others.
I love it. Hanging out with Cicone Prince of CiconePrince.com. He is the author of his latest book, Leadership That Lasts, passing on the 10 solid principles to ensure an enduring legacy. Now, I want to do this because people might have missed it at the beginning. So let's just talk about this video clip that you did for the book. It is phenomenal, and we're just going to play it while you are here on screen. Let me pull it up real quick.
The wait is finally over for Cicone's most anticipated book of the year, Leadership That Lasts, passing on 10 solid principles to ensure an enduring legacy. Powerful, effective, impactful, dynamic, phenomenal, transformative, life-changing. Available now in Amazon. Order yours today.
Impactful, insightful, Leadership That Lasts, the phenomenal book by Cicone Prince. Definitely, it's going to change some lives, change some businesses. So you definitely want to stay to the end so you can get more information on how you can get this phenomenal book. But let's throw some questions out at you. Can anyone be a leader, Cicone?
Well, again, everybody can. The question is, do they want to?
Wow.
Again, we have to lead ourselves. No one else is going to do it for us. We have to. So to answer the question, yes, everybody can be a leader. And they at least have to lead themselves. Because if you're expecting somebody else to come get you out of bed, somebody else to come put your clothes on, somebody else to put your shoes on, somebody else to feed you. No. Everybody can be a leader. But it's once you've understood your need for leadership, then it goes beyond yourself. Again, that's why, going back to our slogan, making motivation personal, by introducing you to yourself. See, inspiration, at least from my definition, comes from outside. It's external. You see somebody and you are inspired by them or by, in fact, what they do. But motivation comes from the inside. What motivates you? What drives you? So we make motivation personal by introducing you to yourself. When you truly understand who you are not going to just settle for less than you know that you are capable of providing, doing, having, and being. And so everybody can be a leader, but they have to start with leading themselves. There's no way around it. an insecure leader is going to be toxic because everybody's going to be a threat. Everybody's going to be threatening their position. Everybody's going to be threatening their authority. But if you know who you are, you see other people as an asset. They can help you accomplish your goals and your dreams. As a leader, if you've done your own work on you, it's not hard for you to help other people. It's not hard for you to lead because you realize you are valuable as well. And that's one of the things I really want to help people to understand is their own worth, because that sets the precedence for the people coming behind them.
I love it. I love it. And now, the first question that anyone's going to ask before they purchase this book is what makes Cicone Prince a leadership expert? So why don't you tell us the first time that you found yourself in a leadership role?
Well, the first time I found myself in a leadership role would have to be doing our men's ministry at our church. I actually was just a member of the men's ministry. It's our trusted partners ministry. And in fact, but I was spread too thin. I mean, I was in a whole bunch of other ministries, and I kind of coined the phrase, it's like a teaspoon of mayonnaise and 5 sandwiches. It's like, if you put a dab on each one, it's not gonna make a difference. Like, you never know it. So I had to come to the point to, okay, where am I gonna concentrate my efforts? Where am I gonna concentrate my time? Okay. And so I found myself focusing on our men's ministry. And actually, I'll be honest, God actually led me, said, this is where I want you. So I had to step down from those other things that I was a part of so I could focus on that. Well, I didn't step down from those other ministries so I could be the head of that ministry. I just wanted to focus my efforts on making it better. Well, little did I know that after I made that declaration, after I made that move and that shift, that the guy that was over the ministry, he actually got called into the pastors. And so he ended up leaving. And so I had the mantle of responsibility placed squarely on my shoulders. But I am a firm believer, and I live by this. And it's a scripture, to whom much is given, much is required.
Right.
And see, my thing is this. If you never take an account of what you've been given, if you never really understood your worth and your value, then you won't see why you need to step up, why you need to do, in fact, whatever it is you've been called to do. But if you take an inventory of everything that God has placed in you, of all of the gifts, abilities, the talents that you have, you'll see the responsibility that comes with that. Again, to whom much is given, much is required. And once you realize you've been given much, how can you sit down? How can you go somewhere in a corner and be quiet when you know that you have the answer to somebody's problem, when you're the aspirin to their headache? And so for me, stepping into that role, it really allowed me an opportunity to trust God more, but to also operate in the areas that He had called me. But I can tell you this, I was nervous, and I still don't think that I mastered anything, but I have committed myself to being a better version of me. And that's what I want everybody to do. Everybody that's watching right now, I want you to be the best version of yourself. And in doing so, you have to lead. You have to start with you. But then once you've gotten, and I'm not even going to say master that because I'm still learning myself. But once you've gotten your footing and a good foundation in yourself, you can help somebody else. I think it was in fact one of the Graham that says to a kindergartner, a third grade is a genius. And that's true. That's true. You may be 10 minutes smarter than somebody else, but to them, you're a genius. And so just taking that into account, and I knew that I had something to offer, something to share, and I wasn't going to let anybody, even me, stop me from doing it.
I love that. And one thing that I know about you, and I'm pretty sure it's sprinkled all through this book, Leadership That Lasts, is that you equate leadership with just a higher level of service.
Yes.
I've seen in the 6 years that we've known each other, you have been of service to me on numerous occasions, and I'm sure I still owe you the checks in the mail. UPS is running a little slow. Don't worry about it. But what I know is that your level of service keeps positioning you for your level of leadership. You didn't just go into that men's role, that men's committee to lead. You went in to serve. And because you went in to serve, the people you were serving saw your leadership ability. And it's a circle effect. When you serve, when you give, then it is given back to you in the form of more positioning and uh, more opportunities to serve, which now effectively shows you as a leader because you've been able to serve in these different capacities before.
Right.
I look at it in every form of leadership. If you look at every leader, for the most part, I'm not going to speak about each and every one, but for most leaders, you can look back at their circa vitale and see that along the way, they were in different positions of service before they became the leader of the pack. The wolf who leads the pack isn't always the leader from the time he's born. He has to watch other wolves who were the leader of the pack, learn from them, and move their way up. And
Right.
that's what I've seen in you. I've seen you from your very first seminar, climbing the wrong mountain, all the way up to now, leadership that lasts. And it's apropos because your leadership, while you climbed your mountain, has left breadcrumbs for other people to follow. So
Right.
that's what I think makes you an effective leader. And I think that's what makes you an expert to talk about this topic in your book, Leadership That Lasts. But
Right.
as we come up to the end of it, I just want to take a second. We want to look at some of the comments that are coming across. Taria Hodge, she says, uh, great morning, Terrence Leffridge and Cicone Prince. Hey, Taria, thank you. She says, this is so true. In order to lead, we have to do our work on ourselves. Betty Speaks, she's joining us. She's saying great quotes that you're putting out there, Cicone. Luisa Akeza, she's joining us. She says, my friend is here, Cicone Prince. So thank you guys for tuning in. Betty says that in order for you to be a leader, you have to know what's your why. All great points. So thank you guys for sharing as we continue to hang out here with Cicone Prince. He is the author of the book, Leadership That Lasts. We are going to give you some more information on how you can get your copy of this book, Leadership That Lasts, towards the end of the broadcast today. But you touched upon it earlier, but I think it's really important, and I think it's probably the basics for the book titled Leadership That Lasts, that effective leadership lasts. So, what's missing in your eyes from a effective leadership today in all our different forums, our political forums, our business forums, and even our personal forums? What's missing from effective leadership?
Well, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it's value of self. Value of self. Again, one of the reasons why, in fact, you have leaders that are not effective. They don't see their own value. So they don't see the value of others. They can't appreciate themselves, so they can't appreciate others. Quite frankly, they don't love themselves. And it's hard for them to love others. I'll use another scripture. We have to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. Well, I think one of the things that we're seeing right now is a lack of self-love. Because if you truly love yourself, it's easy for you to love your neighbor. So even in the aspect of leadership, being able to value yourself, to see yourself as someone who can and will make a difference, that will definitely help you be a better leader. Because again, when you see your own value, it's easy to see the value of others. But when you don't, it's really hard for you to. when you don't appreciate yourself, it's hard for you to appreciate others. So I try to encourage people to spend some time getting to know you. Spend some time evaluating yourself. Spend some time appreciating yourself. And then it's easier for you to do that in your relationships, with your business, with your clients, with your customers. If you never take the time to take a vacation, if you never take the time to do something special for you, why would you be okay with doing it for somebody else when you've never done it for yourself? So I would encourage everybody to spend time bettering themselves, loving themselves, and that makes it easier for them to love others. Because see, when it comes time for you to give, going back to that quote about, give from your overflow, give from your saucer, not your cup, because it's hard to give from an empty cup. But if you never put anything in your cup, there's nothing to give out. But if you put so much in your cup that it spills over into the saucer, you can, of course, you know, you can pour from the saucer and still have stuff in the cup. So again, loving oneself helps you to be more an effective leader when it comes to loving other people and leading them. Because in loving yourself, you're going to lead yourself. You're going to make decisions that are in your best interest. Well, then that also helps when you're leading someone else. You're going to make those same decisions in their best interest.
I love it. Cicone Prince, Leadership That Lasts, the book. Let's talk a little bit specifically about the book. How many chapters are in this book?
There are 10 chapters in the book, and it really walks you through a process from why it's needed to identifying individuals to start to mentor and coach, and even to the point to where your legacy will be secured because they will appreciate the time, the energy, and the effort that you put into setting them up to succeed. It was Maya Angelou that said that people will forget what you say, they'll forget what you do, but they'll never forget how you make them feel. And if you set somebody up for success, they will value you. I remember hearing this one judge said that there are three people that you never forget: people who got you in trouble, people who left you in trouble, and people who helped you in trouble. And so understanding our need to be of help, to be of service. But again, if you don't value yourself, well, no one helped me out. Well, I'm not helping them out. That's not how you have leadership that lasts. In fact, that's how you have toxic leadership. But if you let it stop with you, even if no one mentored you, if no one showed you or told you what to do, why would you sit idly by and let somebody fall in the same ditch, the same pitfalls, the same traps, the same struggles you had? Why not prepare them so that they can go further than you ever went? And see, so many people's ego won't allow them to do that.
The wait is
About it, it's going to make the difference as to whether or not you have leadership that lasts.
Well, we know that this is going to be a phenomenal book. So you've got 10 chapters in it. It is going to just change the lives of people. We talked about three of the chapters. What's one other title? What are the title to get them excited about this book?
Well, the securing your legacy, that one, chapter 10, is the one that really drives home, the whole meaning and reason for the book. It's why the book was written. Everything up to that point is to help you. Those are building blocks. But chapter 10, they will remember you. They will, in fact, remember your name. When anybody talks about leadership, they will think about you. You will come to mind simply because you did it right. You modeled it right. You helped them to succeed. And they won't forget that. And if anything, they will continue the process of helping somebody else.
Well, it has been great talking to you, talking about this phenomenal book. Again, the book is entitled Leadership That Lasts, and you are going to definitely be inspired, whether you're trying to do your own personal leadership or whether you're trying to do your business leadership. But now let's get them what they really want to know. How can they get a copy of this book today?
Well, the book is available on Amazon. They can get a printed copy of it there, or they can get the ebook, which is available for download as well. And I'm telling you, this book is a game changer. And I'm not just saying that because I wrote it. I mean, I literally went back and read it, and I was blown away by the information that God gave me to put in the book. I mean, really making it practical, making it something that people could easily apply to their leadership style and their ability. So yes, Amazon.com, you can search for like Leadership That Lasts and put my name in there as well, and it will come up. You can purchase it there. You can get the Kindle ebook edition, or in fact, you can get the paperback.
I love it. I love it. Now, suppose they want, after they read this book, I know they're going to be so excited. They're going to be so inspired, but they may need some extra help. So how can they get information, insight, and motivation from the person who introduces them to themselves? That's you, Cicone Prince.
That's right. Well, they can go to CiconePrince.com. That's CiconePrince.com. And there you can find out all the information about me. You can actually follow me on all of my social medias. Those actual links are there. But if you want to email me, it's Cicone@CiconePrince.com. That's CICONE at CICONEPRINCE.com. That's one of the ways you can get in contact with me. But again, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor.fm, Spotify. I mean, yeah, that's all the information you can go where you can't find me. So.
Absolutely. And then don't forget to check out his phenomenal YouTube channel with not only information about the book, but all of his weekly motivational videos. Cicone, I'm so proud of you, man. Number 5. I know there's more that's going to be downloaded into you from the creator so that it can be uploaded into our world. We appreciate you. You know, when I think about you, I think about this quote, and it says, you know, service is the rent that we pay in exchange for the ability to walk this earth. And right. You, each and every day, you walk in power, you walk in purpose, but more importantly, you walk in service. And that is the form of leadership that I know will definitely last. So thank you so much for being on our special episode of Talking Small Business with Terrence. Again, make sure you guys go out and get your copy of the book, Leadership That Lasts. It is available on Amazon in print and in ebook format for your Kindle. We got some last comments coming in. Thank you, Diamond Queen, for joining us. Thank you, Taria, for joining us. Taria says you got to have an abundance versus a scarcity mindset. Louisa Keza, she said your book is going to be fire. So thank everybody for who joined in and definitely took the time to be a part of this broadcast. Make sure you pick up your copy of the book Leadership That Lasts on Amazon, as well as on, you can go to Cicone at CiconePrince.com and get more information, not only about the book, his other books that are out there, as well as his upcoming coaching and personal development courses and curriculums. Oops, I think I threw something out there in the bag. But you got to go to CiconePrince.com to get more information about those upcoming things. We're going to give you the last word, Cicone. What's the last word you want to let them know about the book? Let them know about CiconePrince.com, or just let them know something about themselves as we leave today.
Well, I'm not one that spends a whole lot of time talking about like myself and what I've done. If I only do that, it's only to encourage you that you can do the same. So my thing is lead well. Lead well. Start with yourself. Become your own best friend. Actually, do for yourself, in fact, what you wish others would do for you. And once you've gotten comfortable with loving yourself, it's easier for you to love others. Again, I think so many people go through life not loving themselves. And so needless to say, it's hard for them to love others. And I know I'm using the word love, but I could put leading. I could use leadership. People go through life not leading themselves, just being blown and tossed by the wind. So needless to say, they can't lead others. But when you love yourself, you lead yourself. So when you love others, you can do the same. You can lead them as well. So I want to encourage you. I want to challenge you to love yourself, lead yourself, be the best version of yourself. And then you can hold somebody else to the same standard. You can help them. You can encourage them. You can support them. You can motivate them, because you're not so egotistical that you see them as a threat, but you see them as an asset. Like you see them as someone that can help further your cause. So start with yourself, but then help somebody else. Those are my final comments.
Thank you. Cicone Prince, author, Leadership That Lasts, on Talking Small Business with Terrence, where we help businesses go from being stuck into being unstoppable. Listen, if you want to be the type of leader that leaves a lasting impression, not only on yourself, but your business and the people who work for you, then get a copy of this book. Learn the 10 critical steps you need to not only create leadership that is impactful, but to create leadership that lasts. We're going to close out with the infomercial for the book again. But as always, thank you guys for tuning in to Talking Small Business with Terrence. Join us each and every week here on Talking Business with Terrence. And you can also check out our podcast. Our podcast is available on Anchor, Apple, Google Play, and all other podcast networks. You can check us out at anchor.fm/Terrence Leffridge and the number 8. And hey, maybe you want to be a guest on the next episode of Talking Small Business with Terrence. Simply just reach out to us, tleffridge@unstoppablecoaching.com. But remember, leaders, wherever you are in the world today, you know what I say. Don't just make it a great day. Go out and create leadership that lasts and make it an unstoppable day. Take care.
The wait is finally over for Cicone's most anticipated book of the year, Leadership That Lasts, passing on 10 solid principles to ensure an enduring legacy. Powerful, effective, impactful, helpful, dynamic, phenomenal, transformative, life-changing. Available now in Amazon. Order yours today.